right, welcome to another deep dive. And this time, we're going deep into the world of coffee.
Sounds delicious.
You bet. Our listener has sent us a mountain of material. I mean, articles, research studies, even some personal stories.
Wow, must be a coffee lover.
They really want to understand, what's the real deal with coffee and our health.
Yeah, cutting through all the noise, right?
Exactly. I mean, to be honest, I was kind of floored by the sheer amount of coffee we drink globally.
Oh, yeah. How much are we talking?
Hold on to your mug, because it's over 2.25 billion cups every single day.
Whoa. That's a lot of coffee.
Right. But our listener, they're a little worried, too, about some potential downsides.
Makes sense. Coffee gets a bad rap sometimes.
Yeah, especially when it comes to, liver health.
The caffeine, the acidity.
Exactly. It seems like it could do some damage. What do you think?
Well, it's a good question to ask. But let's dive into some research, shall we?
Let's do it.
There's a big review in the Journal of Clinical and Experimental Hepatology. And it actually suggests that 2 or more cups of coffee a day might actually be good for your liver.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying coffee is liver medicine now?
Not exactly medicine, but this review found that it could improve liver function and even offer protection against almost every kind of liver disease.
Okay, that's intriguing. But is that just one study?
Nope, there's more. Think about the UK Biobank study. Huge study. They tracked over 500,000 people.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
For 11 years. And they found coffee drinkers had a 21% lower risk of developing chronic liver disease.
Okay, now those are some numbers I can get behind.
And get this, they were also 49% less likely to die from liver disease.
All right, now that's impressive. But, here's where I get tripped up. This study also found that even decaf coffee showed some benefits.
Interesting, right?
Yeah, so if it's not the caffeine, what's doing all the good stuff?
That is the million-dollar question. It seems to point to other compounds in coffee that might be protective.
Like what?
Well, one that's getting a lot of attention is chlorogenic acid.
Say that again?
Chlorogenic acid. It's a potent antioxidant, and it's found in both regular and decaf coffee.
Uh-huh. So maybe that's the secret weapon?
Could be. It might be shielding the liver from damage.
Okay, so I'm getting dish the cream and sugar. Got it. But are you saying I should switch to decaf too?
Well, it's not that simple. Caffeine itself has been linked to some positive effects, which we could dig into later.
Okay, fair enough. So more to the story there.
Definitely. But this finding about decaf, it does tell us that there's more to coffee than just the caffeine kick.
All right, I like that. So that's one less worry about my coffee habit. But, every time I feel like I've got coffee figured out, boom, another scary headline pops up.
Yeah, those headlines.
What about all this talk about coffee and cancer?
I've seen those too.
Makes you think twice.
Right, I hear you. Those headlines can be pretty alarming. But there's good news. A recent meta-analysis.
A meta what?
A meta-analysis. It basically means they analyzed data from 28 different studies on coffee and cancer.
Okay, so like a super study.
Exactly. And they found no solid evidence linking coffee to any type of cancer.
So we can all breathe a sigh of relief there. Coffee's not going to give us cancer.
That's what the research is suggesting. Of course, with nutrition science, there's always more to learn. But for now, the evidence is pretty reassuring.
All right, good to know. But let's talk about something else that's always made me a bit nervous. Caffeine's effect on the heart. It's a stimulant, right? So shouldn't it be driving up my blood pressure and causing problems?
I think so, wouldn't you?
Oh.
But coffee seems to defy expectations here, too.
Oh, how so?
A 2018 meta-analysis, another one of those big studies, found that coffee drinkers actually tend to have lower blood pressure, not higher.
What? Seriously?
Seriously. It seems caffeine does initially constrict blood vessels. But coffee also has a diuretic effect.
Meaning?
It makes you pee more.
Okay.
And that actually lowers overall blood volume, which in turn leads to lower blood pressure over time.
So it's kind of like a two-step process. Constrict, then relax.
Exactly. But I know what you're thinking.
What about irregular heartbeats?
You got it. I've heard that caffeine can be a trigger for some people.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
It's a valid concern. And researchers have looked into this pretty thoroughly. Large studies, including ones that combine data from multiple studies, haven't found a connection between caffeine and atrial fibrillation.
Atrial what?
Atrial fibrillation. It's a dangerous type of irregular heartbeat.
Oh, okay. So that's good news, I guess. But what about, other types of arrhythmias?
You're right to bring that up. It's possible that for some people, especially those with pre-existing heart conditions, caffeine could trigger other less common types of arrhythmias.
Ah, so there are caveats.
Always. It's always wise to talk to your doctor if you have any concerns about your heart health and your caffeine intake.
Good advice. I feel like this whole deep dive is turning my coffee knowledge upside down. We talked about cholesterol earlier. Is there anything coffee specific we should know about there?
There's a key distinction to make. Filtered versus unfiltered coffee.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
A major study with over 132,000 adults found that filtered coffee had no impact on cholesterol levels.
So like drip coffee, pour over.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. Unfiltered coffee, like from a French press,
Uh-oh, a French press.
was linked to increased LDL cholesterol.
The bad kind.
The bad kind, yes.
Hold on, seriously. So my French press habit might be messing with my cholesterol. Why such a big difference between the two?
It seems to boil down to certain compounds in coffee that get trapped by filters.
Ah, so the filter's doing us a favor.
It is. So if you're watching your cholesterol, filtered coffee is the smarter choice.
Good to know. It really shows that even those little choices can have a big impact. Speaking of impact, with all this talk about blood pressure and cholesterol, are we saying coffee is actually good for heart health overall?
Remember that massive UK study we talked about earlier? The one with over 500,000 people?
The one with the 11-year follow-up.
That's the one. They found that those who drank up to 5 cups of coffee daily had a significantly reduced risk of heart attack, stroke, and other cardiovascular diseases.
Wow, so it's like all those pieces, the blood pressure, the cholesterol, they're all working together to keep our hearts happy.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. That same UK Biobank study, this time looking at over 365,000 participants, found that drinking 2 or 3 cups of tea or coffee per day was linked to a 28% lower risk of developing dementia.
Hold on, are you telling me coffee could protect my brain too? This is incredible. But I have to ask, there's this whole thing people say about avoiding coffee first thing in the morning because of cortisol and adenosine. Is there any truth to that?
It's a common myth, actually.
Yeah.
It's true that a cup of coffee can initially bump up cortisol levels.
Cortisol being that stress hormone.
The one and only. But regular coffee drinkers, their bodies actually adapt to this, so the spike becomes minimal over time. As for adenosine, yeah, its levels are lowest in the morning.
Which is supposed to be why we feel groggy, right?
Right. But caffeine's benefits, they actually go beyond just blocking adenosine.
So there's more to the story there, too.
Definitely. Plus, caffeine hangs out in your system for a while, so having your coffee earlier in the day is generally a good idea to avoid sleep disruptions later on.
Okay, so my morning coffee ritual is officially guilt-free. But what if I just need a quick pick-me-up? Does a single cup of coffee actually do anything noticeable?
Absolutely. Just 1 cup can do wonders. Studies show it can actually make your workouts better, help you focus, and even boost your mood.
Wow, so much from just 1 cup. Let's break that down a little. What are we talking about when you say better workouts?
Well, caffeine's been shown to improve performance across the board. Like, are you training for a marathon?
Not quite marathon ready, but I do like a good run now and then.
Well, caffeine can help you push through those longer runs, improve your endurance. Or let's say you're doing a high-intensity workout.
Yeah, more my style, actually.
Caffeine can help you power through those tough sets. And even if it's just a quick workout, it can actually improve your reaction time.
Okay, so no matter what kind of workout, caffeine's got your back. What about focus? Does coffee make us, smarter?
It won't magically boost your IQ, but it does stimulate certain parts of the brain, the areas involved in memory and goal setting.
So it's helping us think more clearly.
Yeah, it can help you concentrate better, plan your tasks more effectively, and stay on track to reach your goals.
All right, so it's a productivity booster too. Now, the mood boost, is that just the caffeine rush we're feeling?
Actually, that's the interesting part. Both regular and decaf coffee have been shown to improve mood.
Really?
Yeah, so it seems there's something else in those magic beans, besides caffeine, that's working its mood-boosting magic.
Fascinating. So maybe coffee is like the ultimate multitasker. Good for the body, good for the brain, good for the soul.
I like that, a holistic boost.
Exactly. With all these benefits, it almost feels like, is coffee some kind of superfood? But if it's really this amazing, is there an ideal amount to aim for?
The FDA, they recommend no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day for healthy adults.
And that's about how many cups of coffee?
Roughly 4 cups of brewed coffee. But based on the research, it seems most people get the most benefits from sticking to around 2 to 3 cups a day.
So moderation, as always. I have to ask this, though. Some days, one cup of coffee makes me feel fantastic, like super focused, tons of energy.
Yeah, that good coffee feeling.
But then other days, I have one cup and I feel all jittery and anxious. Is that just me, or is there something more to that?
It's definitely not just you, and that's a great question. It leads us to the fascinating world of the gut microbiome.
Wait, gut bacteria and coffee, how are those two connected?
It's still a pretty new area of research,
Yeah.
but the evidence is suggesting that the types of bacteria in your gut,
So all those trillions of little guys living in our digestive system.
exactly, they can actually influence how you metabolize caffeine
Interesting.
and how you experience its effects.
So you're saying my gut bacteria could be the reason I get the jitters while you feel fantastic after a cup.
It's entirely possible. Different microbiomes might break down caffeine at different rates.
Okay, so some people process it faster or slower.
Right, and that affects how much caffeine ends up in your bloodstream, which ultimately impacts how you feel.
Wow, that is mind-blowing. So is coffee basically like personalized medicine?
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
It really highlights that there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to nutrition.
Especially with something as complex as coffee, makes sense. So if our gut bacteria play such a big role, are there things we can do to optimize our microbiome for a better coffee experience?
Another great question. While the research is ongoing, we do know that a healthy and diverse diet can definitely help.
What does that look like?
Think fiber-rich foods, fermented foods, things that nourish those good gut bacteria.
So the secret to the perfect cup of coffee isn't just the beans and the brewing method. It's also about what we're feeding our gut bacteria.
It's a fascinating connection. And it's a good reminder that even something as simple as coffee can be influenced by this whole complex world inside our bodies.
That's amazing. It's not just about the coffee itself, it's also about how our unique bodies process it. Makes you wonder, are there other factors that personalize our coffee experience? Like, could our genes play a role?
You're on the right track. There's a whole field called nutrigenomics that studies how our genes impact our responses to food.
And that includes coffee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some gene variants, for example, have been linked to faster or slower caffeine metabolism.
So that explains why some people are more sensitive to caffeine's effects.
Exactly. It's not just about how much coffee you drink, but also how your genes are wired to handle it.
It's like coffee is a genetic puzzle. And the more pieces we find, the more we understand about ourselves.
Exactly. And as we learn more about these gene interactions, we might even be able to personalize coffee recommendations.
Like based on your DNA.
Imagine getting a genetic test that tells you your ideal coffee dose, the best time to drink it, even the type of beans best suited for you.
Wow, that's a future I can get behind. Personalized coffee recommendations. But even without fancy genetic tests, I feel like this deep dive's given us a ton of knowledge to make smarter choices right now.
Totally agree. We've busted some myths, we've uncovered some surprising benefits, and we've even explored the fascinating connections between coffee, our gut, and our genes.
It really highlights how much there is to learn about this everyday beverage and how powerful science can be in uncovering those secrets.
You said it. And it's all thanks to the amazing researchers dedicating their lives to answering these questions. And of course, to curious listeners like you.
It's a team effort for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of teams, do you ever work with other experts in your field to, tackle these big coffee questions?
Oh, absolutely. Science is a collaborative process. We're always bouncing ideas off each other, working on research together, even challenging each other's viewpoints.
That's how you make sure the findings are solid, right?
Exactly. It's all about moving the field forward together.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that with all the information out there, especially about something as popular as coffee, it's important to be a critical thinker.
Yeah. Evaluate your sources. Don't believe everything you read.
Especially those sensational headlines.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Couldn't agree more. Always double check, look for evidence-based info, and don't hesitate to ask questions.
And that's where the deep dive comes in. We're here to help navigate the complexities of research, break down the jargon, and empower our listeners to make those informed decisions.
Exactly. We love tackling those tough questions. So if you have a topic you want us to explore, send us your sources, and we'll brew up a deep dive just for you.
Before we wrap up this caffeine-fueled conversation, anything else you'd like to share about the future of coffee research? What are you most excited about?
I'm really excited about the potential of personalized nutrition.
So, tailoring dietary advice, including how much coffee we drink, to our individual needs.
Exactly. Using genetic profiles, gut microbiome analysis, even lifestyle factors to create truly personalized recommendations.
So we're talking about a coffee plan that's designed specifically for you and your body to maximize the benefits and minimize any risks.
Precisely. And as technology keeps advancing and our understanding of these complex interactions grows, I think we're going to see even more personalized approaches to coffee, helping people optimize their health and well-being.
It's like coffee is becoming a biohacking tool, fine-tuning our intake to reach specific goals, whether it's sharper focus, better workouts, or even just a brighter mood.
Love that. Coffee, it's no longer just a beverage. It's a tool for personal empowerment.
I love that perspective. It's like we're entering this new era of coffee consciousness. We're not just drinking it for the taste or the caffeine kick. We're drinking it for its potential to enhance our lives in so many ways.
Couldn't agree more. And that brings me to my final thought for our listeners. As you sip your next cup of coffee, I want you to take a moment to appreciate the journey it took to get there.
From the bean to the cup.
From the farm to your hands. And appreciate the science, the nature, the human ingenuity that brought this amazing beverage to life.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it reminds us that even something as simple as a cup of coffee holds a world of wonder and possibility.
Indeed. Something worth savoring.
Cheers to our listeners and to the endless possibilities of coffee.
Cheers.
Wow, I feel like we could talk about coffee forever.
It is a fascinating topic.
But I know you've got places to be, maybe even a cup of coffee calling your name right now.
Maybe.
So let's recap. What are the big takeaways from our deep dive into the world of coffee? What are the things our listeners should really remember about coffee and its effects on health?
Well, first off, I think it's important to remember that coffee isn't the bad guy it's sometimes made out to be. For most people, a couple of cups a day, not only safe, but could actually be good for you.
We're talking happy liver, healthy heart, right?
Right. Even a sharper mind.
Oh, and potentially lowering the risk of dementia. That's huge.
It is. Coffee, it's like it has this amazing ability to protect us. And we're only just starting to figure out how.
But of course, that doesn't mean we have a free pass to just drink coffee all day long.
Definitely not. Moderation, as always, is key.
Right.
And super important, if you have any health conditions, especially anything related to your heart, it's always best to check in with your doctor about caffeine.
Good point. And we can't forget about the filter.
Yes, the filter.
Filtered coffee seems like the way to go, especially if you're keeping an eye on your cholesterol.
Definitely. It's a simple choice, but it can make a difference.
It really can. And above all, pay attention to your body.
Yeah, what works for me might not work for you.
Exactly. You are your own best expert.
Listen to those cues.
So listen to your body. Be mindful of how much you drink and choose your coffee wisely.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Try different types of beans, different roasts. Try a new brewing method.
There's a whole world of coffee out there.
Exactly. Have fun exploring it.
Find what you love. You know, as we wrap up this deep dive, I really want you, our listener, to walk away feeling empowered.
Knowledge is power, right?
Exactly. Not overwhelmed. You learn so much about how coffee works in your body, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And you can use this knowledge to make your own informed choices.
Love it.
So enjoy that next cup with a little more awareness and appreciation.
Beautifully said. No matter how you take your coffee, may it bring you joy and good health.
Well said. And on that note, we raise our mugs to you, our listener, for joining us on this deep dive into the world of coffee.
Cheers.
Until next time, happy brewing.